Top 10 saddest fairy tale moments. For over a decade, the anime fairy tale has warmed our hearts and made us cry. We've seen lots of heartbreak as well as emotional scenes arise from the much-loved manga and anime. We've cheered upon the beloved ones, cried for them when they're at their lowest points, and laughed with them throughout their journeys. With that said, let's take a look at the top 10 saddest fairy tale moments that left us heartbroken about the fairy tale family. Number 10. Ultres Sacrifice.
私の人生は呪われていた。
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you feel like giving up on the things you love for the sake of others? That's exactly what Ultres did. Ultres sacrifices the grand magic games in a way that none of us could have imagined, to show the negative aspects of the future. With a whole lot of us witnessing many of our favorite characters' deaths, it was difficult to accept the show's best possible ending, and to a villain that had been moved to do good and who was regretting her decision to value her own life above that of her allies. Because of this, she would put everyone's lives at risk by using an incantation she couldn't control, and time only allows her to rewind by a minute. Afterward, she thought about her own life and how it's only valuable for a minute. It was overall what followed that truly cemented in our hearts the immensity of Ultres' sacrifice. On the walk back to Magnolia, Gray notices her old and gray figure. She warns him not to seek her out because he risks losing his mother and daughter who aided in his rescue. He, like us, has been brought to tears. Number 9. Truth about Kate Shelter. Everybody has a secret about their place, and before long, it was revealed that Kate Shelter was actually a guild that had helped Wendy and raised her. Actually, this was just an illusion created by the guild master to make Wendy feel happy and loved. Although Wendy's tenure with her clan was coming to an end, we couldn't help but be moved by her emotions as she waited for the guild master and members to return. This event truly occurred when Wendy was already at her lowest point, and it was Urza who managed to reach out to help her, showing the extent of her sympathy for losing someone she cared about. Just like we all have that one friend who helps us during our despair times. Wendy was able to open a new door thanks to Urza, who assisted her in finding a new family, and that was none other than the Fairy Tale Guild. Number 8. Gagils Death.
いつも遅れを取っていた。それが悔しくて。
In the very beginning, Gagil was created as a character meant to be contrasted against Natsu, who is a dragon slayer with questionable morals and actions from time to time. But it was clear that many of us were becoming attached to him when he tried to join a fairy tale, and changed for the better from how he tried to defend the lovable bookworm Levi to try to give his all to make Panther Lily his exceptional companion guide. He quickly became a favorite in the series. But Bloodman's Vortex proved much more for him to handle. He ended up doing what he believed he had to do, which was eliminating the enemy no matter the cost. Levi wanted to help Gagil, however. She was held back by the presence of the Panther Lily. You know that feeling when you want to be with someone the most? Same goes for Gagil as well when he declares his desire to remain with her forever, and his greatest fear was a future without her. With that, he has disappeared, and a great many of us will be afraid that we just watched the demise of the Dragon Slayer. Fortunately, because of Irene's magic, he was alive and quite well again, despite the emotional roller coaster that many had experienced. Number 7. Urza cries for Jalo.
他に言うことはないか。ああ。
When Jalo regained his good graces, several people of the Fairy Tale clan were anticipating what would happen next to their adversary wizard. Criminal records, on the other hand, aren't the easier to ignore. Notably, in the eyes of law, Jalo is soon hauled away to fulfill his sentence for the atrocities he committed against Fiori. Despite the attempts of his new allies and friends, his last words were a recollection of how he happened to give Urza her last last name before leaving. The sight of Fairy Tail's strongest female experiencing a catastrophic breakdown greets us as daylight breaks the next morning. I'm telling you, this is the scene that reminded us that even the most powerful of us here have our limit. Number 6. Future Lucy's Death.
俺は今から7年後の未来から来た。7年後、世界はドラゴンによって支配されている。
If you thought Jalal's departure was difficult, wait until you see what happened next. The entrance of the gloomy Lucy Heartfilia from the future informed viewers that what was about to happen next would be absolutely surprising. With the future road that focused on murdering the present Lucy, it was evident that the future Lucy would have to devote herself to rescue the future as well as her prior self. As her final words, she requested to see her guild mark once more before taking her final breath. We can see how her death would have a significant impact on people who had the most influence in her life. From Wendy and Carlos looking at each other stunned into silence with their eyes overflowing with tears to the following happy goodbye to the future Lucy. Finally, Natsu's rage fires his desire to ensure that this never happens to Lucy again. Many of us were moved to tears by this scene, and when future Lucy truly did pass away and rejoin her guild in the hereafter, we wept with relief alongside the celestial mage. Number 5. Lucy breaks Aquarius key.
私があいつを足止めできる時間は限られている。よく聞けルーシー。
We've reached the point when Lucy has broken Aquarius' key, and in the Fairy Tail series, Lucy was not regarded as a brutal fighter. Even if she's up against a wall with guild members who need her support, she'll always offer everything she's got to save them. In order to save them, she was offered the ultimate choice: save her friends or keep one of her mother's few momentums, the celestial spirit Aquarius. Lucy was still confused at the point where she was at risk of losing her life because of the jackal, but when Aquarius speaks, Lucy destroys a key and calls the Celestial Spirit King. Even though she had saved the day, it was clear that the death of Aquarius would be difficult to overcome. Lucy's determination to get Aquarius a new key demonstrates her commitment to reuniting with the spirit. Number 4. Lexus leaves Fairy Tail.
私はな、お前の成長を見るのが生きがいだった。
Everyone remembers the time when Lexus left the Fairy Tail. Although his choice to declare war with his group resulted in expulsion, the act itself did not. As the Fantasia parade went on, everyone in Magnolia started to enjoy among themselves, and the symbol is known as "I'm looking your way" that Lexus' grandfather had coined years ago came into the hands of the other Fairy Tail characters, just moving Lexus to break down and take a look towards his family with teary eyes. Although the news was distressing, knowing that his family was always there waiting for him to return as a better man and transformed man was more than enough for Lexus to continue and move on from his previous mistakes. Number 3. Makarovs Sacrifice.
飛んでくだされ、わしの花道。
策はあります。必ず。
We've seen a lot of sacrifices and tough decisions in this anime, but few seem to match it to Makarov's decision to lower the number of charmed foot soldiers so that his children can continue fighting without having to cope with minimal dangers. Using fairy law, however, results in the Fairy Tail Guildmaster's death, even though he killed 70 to 80% of the enemy. Makarov dies in a sterile and protective attitude, leaving his kids with just an understanding of the actual cost of war and the need not to lose anybody else in the final battle between themselves and Zerif. Number 2. Ignels Death.
スキアドラムもメタリカーナもブランディーネも皆ドラゴンスレイヤーの体内にいた。秘実によって体内にて眠っていたと。
Not only did the Tartaros arc lose Gray's father, but it also lost Natsu's adopted father, Ignel. This had been happening since the series began, as Natsu had been looking for his father, who has vanished. Everything appeared to go well after the two got reunited until Acnologia stole Ignel's life right in front of Natsu's eyes. However, after Gagils Death, few dragon slayers had said their final farewell to their dragon parents, and Natsu was saddened by the demise of his dragon parent. Nevertheless, despite the tears and pain Ignel's death brought, Natsu moved even further and he vowed to become even stronger to save the ones he adored from the same faith. Number 1. Silver's Goodbye. Gray's past, as well as the horror of Deloria, pushed him to grow into a more powerful and capable wizard. As a result, when Tartarus revived his daddy from the grave, it appeared that Gray would have to relive his father's death. To make matter worse, Juvia was compelled to choose between sacrificing herself so Gray might stay with his father and killing the magician who brought him back so the Demon Guild could be defeated. With a newly gained ability and teary goodbye, Gray bids his farewell to his father. Silver's words were essential in helping both Juvia and Grave keep moving on with their lives, but they left the feeling of being regretful for their decisions. Bidding your own father goodbye is really a hard thing to do, right? It's heartbreaking to think that the fairy tale has ended. Looking back on all the experiences and great memories they've shared and provided for us, it's evident that the anime series had become far more than just a show to many of us. From the guild members' struggles to their tears and determination to move forward, they've been with us from the beginning and every step along the way. No matter how much time passes or how many new shows we fall in love with, the fairy tale will always be strong in our hearts, and we'll always remember to gaze their way when we need a reminder of real friendship, family, and magic. So, which one of these was the most saddest moment for you? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get notified about our future uploads. Take care and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!